My name is Roham Garagozlu. I work with the Rising Tide Fund based out of Silicon Valley. I'd like to talk about a couple of the startups that we're working with through Techwadi, and two startups that actually illustrate the two different types of businesses we see coming out of the MENA region. One of them being a regional focused business and the other one being an international focused business. So the first one I'd like to talk about is bebasata.com, a business that's targeting first of all, Egypt and later on the larger MENA region. Before talking about the actual business or the product, I'd like to talk about the opportunity that we see in the MENA region and why we think startups that address the MENA region have a very valuable proposition. First of all, as you can see from the information on this slide, the role of the United States as an internet consumer is rapidly decreasing. Less than a few years ago, the United States represented by far the dominant consumer of the internet. Now the burden has shifted to the rest of the world, and any products will have to address this wider market. Breaking it down by region, we see that the Middle East and Africa has 7% of the worldwide internet audience. This represents a pretty small portion, comparable roughly to Latin America. But first of all, Latin America has given rise to many startups that target the regional market. And second of all, the number that's very important to be looking at is the number in red right next to Middle East Africa. That 75% represents the 2009 growth rate in the worldwide internet audience in that region. 75% is over 3 times as fast as Asia Pacific is growing and more than twice as fast as Latin America. If the Middle East market is not a significant market today, it will be so in the next few years. And so we're very interested in startups that take proven business models and apply them to that regional market. So keeping that Middle East Africa opportunity in mind, these entrepreneurs set out to create what is basically the Amazon.com of the Middle East. And they decided to separate it out into multiple websites. Bebasata.com is a website focused on technology and will serve as a holding company for a future series of boutique websites, first one of which is books.com.eg, focused on the Arabic books market. And in the future, there will be a series of e-commerce websites targeted at key segments, and that makes it easy, familiar for people to do their shopping online. Second, there's a very big problem with monetization. How do you pay for things over the internet? In the West, we have credit cards, we have PayPal. In the Middle East, not only is credit card penetration amazingly low, but there's a very big fear of fraud when it comes to using the credit card number to pay for something online. Bebasata gets past this problem by using cash on delivery, all inclusive, shipping included, cash on delivery. So it really makes it a very easy process for you to test out the waters of e-commerce shopping. The third problem is one of infrastructure. In the United States, we have USPS, we have UPS, we have Federal Express, and a whole host of regional shipping providers. In the Middle East, this need is pretty much fulfilled by Aramex, a company led by Fadi Ghandour. Now, Aramex is a fantastic company, but it is difficult to rely on one shipping provider to kind of fulfill all your orders. And going forward, this will be a very important piece of differentiation between Bebasata and other companies. We're actually working with them to develop alternative local infrastructures, and those details will be made public as time goes on. Books.com is a very interesting product because it actually allows for an international market. The 30 to 50 million Arab-speaking expatriates are in markets that are underserved in terms of access to Arabic literature, books, and publications. And books.com.eg, one of its first kind of avenues of expansion, are going to be targeting these specific markets. Now, looking at these two websites, when I first started talking to these entrepreneurs and emailing back and forth, and we had a couple of Skype calls initially, I thought they had a pretty sizable team. They've been in operation for over a year, and I thought they worked out of a sizable office. But so here's my surprise when this is the picture they sent me of their team. It's two guys. It's two guys that started this project in college. Now they're the first year out of college, so they started in their senior year at the German University of Cairo. And they've pretty much done everything from the web design to the suppliers to the fulfillment of the actual shipments. It's these two guys, and they've come a long way. Obviously, they're very overstretched, and what the areas we can really help them is trying to strategize and put a formal framework behind their business. The second startup I'd like to talk about is in very many ways a polar opposite to the first. Whereas Bebasata was taking an idea that was proven, a business model that's proven from the United States, from Silicon Valley, and expanding it to serve the MENA region market. The VMOV is very much creating new products to serve the international market. So VMOV is an iPhone app developer, and we all know the iPhone app market, the mobile market, is kind of tripling in size over the next 3 years. And this is what Am Ramadan, the founder, this is what he tells me the first time we talk. He tells me, I'm not talking about localization. I'm not talking about creating products for the regional market. I'm talking about creating new products, Silicon Valley level products. And I need an investor that can understand that. So one of his first challenges is actually finding people in his local ecosystem that can look at his totally novel ideas and tell him, there is a market for this, there is a need for this. So what are some of these products? One of them, the first product that they came out with was an iPhone app developer tool called iSimulate. Now, iSimulate came out pretty early on when the App Store was announced, and it actually allows iPhone app developers to control the iPhone simulator using their iPhone. So it's kind of a tool to help them program applications much easier. Now, this tool was widely reported on in the Western media, everything from PC World to IT World to Mac Plus. They discussed this as a groundbreaking tool to help iPhone app developers extend their reach and expand their effectiveness. Their next product, called Weather HD, is a weather application that actually tapped into AccuWeather.com, sourced the weather reports from there, and then paired it with HD videos that display on the iPhone or iPad screen. Now, they did this in such a nice way that the Weather HD was the #1 selling weather app in the United States and in 51 countries in the iPad App Store. And it was widely reported on again, but this time even from the mainstream media, things like the New York Times, PC Magazine, Wired. These guys did this. This is a team of people based in Alexandria, Egypt, with absolutely no linkage to Silicon Valley, absolutely no ability to talk to the reporters here, and yet they had this kind of reach and they had this kind of success. In our conversations back and forth, Amr tells me he's got 3 main problems. And as you look at them, you can think about how easy it is for an organization based in Silicon Valley to actually help solve each of these problems. #1, he says, I don't have any access to good marketing. He says the developers in Egypt are amazing. They're well educated, they're smart, but there's no kind of support ecosystem. There's no marketing experts. There's no PR experts. It's just very difficult to kind of manage that process from Egypt for a global market. And which leads into his second point, which is he has no presence in Silicon Valley. Their first product was an iPhone app developer tool. And they're selling, it's difficult to sell something if you're not there in person to pitch it. One of the first times we talked, he leaned close to the telephone and he said, in the Silicon Valley, I've heard they've got these meetups where all you have is iPhone app developers and they get together and they talk about app development. And to him, this sounded like a foreign concept, but we have these every week. So all we need to do is give him a plane ticket, get him over here, and he can sell his product in person. And if he's had this much success, kind of doing it through the web, through word of mouth, with the right help, with the right coaching, with the right marketing, he can rapidly expand his product offering. And #3 is that his growth has been limited by financing. Ever since VMOV was started 2 years ago, they've been dividing their time between 50 and it's 90% of their time between outsourcing and developing these new products. Outsourcing being they'll do work for local companies. Their time spent on outsourcing, their money from outsourcing has actually decreased from 99% of revenues to only 40% of revenues. But they still need to divide up their time in order to pursue products that will not pay off in the next few months. So they need a small amount of financing to get them to develop products that will pay off in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year, versus kind of being forced to develop products for cash purposes. So as you can see, in both VMOV and Bebasata, we're dealing with very intelligent entrepreneurs. We're dealing with very well thought out ideas, well thought out startups that are addressing very real needs. Our role as a Silicon Valley support organization is to give them the help they need to make their dreams a reality. The thing is that with these two companies, they illustrate the very different ways this help can be provided. In terms of bebasata, they need somebody, they need a sounding board. They need a mentor, they need someone to talk to bounce ideas off of, and to kind of help them find the right strategy for their company. They've got the execution themselves completely, and they're addressing a local market. They know what they're doing. With VMOV, it's a completely different ballgame. As an iPhone app developer, it's less about strategy and more about marketing. It's more about a market reach and understanding how to get from product to profit. And it's a very good illustration of the different ways that we've engaged with startups and the different ways that we can help founders achieve their dreams.